There's a number sitting somewhere in your life right now that you've never actually calculated. You know roughly what your car payment is. You probably know what you pay for insurance. You might even track your gas spending if you're particularly organized. But nobody, and I mean almost nobody, ever sits down and adds all of it up. Every single dollar, every single year, over the entire time they plan to own and drive cars in their lifetime. Because if they did, the number they'd find would completely change how they think about every other financial decision they've ever made. Hi, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to do the math that car dealerships, insurance companies, and your own brain are all quietly hoping you never do. Let's start with what most people think a car costs. They see the monthly payment, maybe $450, maybe $550, maybe $650 if they stretched a little for something they really wanted. And that number feels manageable. It fits in the budget. It doesn't feel like a financial emergency. So they sign, they drive home, and they never think about the total again. Here's what that payment actually means over time. A $500 monthly car payment over a standard 6-year loan term is $36,000. And that's before a single dollar of interest. Depending on your credit score and the loan terms, you might pay $4,000 to $8,000 in interest on top of that. So the car that felt like $500 a month just became a $40,000 to $44,000 decision for a vehicle that started losing value the moment you drove it off the lot.
That first day depreciation alone is typically 10 to 20% of the purchase price. On a $35,000 car, you lose $3,500 to $7,000 in value before you've made a single payment. Not because anything went wrong, just because you drove it. That's not an investment. That's the opposite of an investment. But the payment and the depreciation are just the beginning. Let's add everything else. Insurance on a newer financed vehicle averages somewhere between $1,500 and $2,400 per year, depending on where you live, your age, and your driving record. Call it $150 to $200 per month. Fuel costs the average driver roughly $2,000 to $3,000 annually, depending on the vehicle and how much they drive. Maintenance and repairs, oil changes, tires, brakes, the unexpected things, run another $1,000 to $2,000 per year on average. Registration, taxes, and fees add a few hundred more. Now, let's add it up. Car payment, $500 per month. Insurance, $175 per month. Fuel, $200 per month. Maintenance, $125 per month. Registration and fees, $30 per month. That's $1,030 per month. Over $12,000 per year, just to own and operate one vehicle. Most people have never seen that number written down in one place, and most people would be genuinely shocked if they did. Because $1,030 a month doesn't sound like a car. It sounds like a second rent payment. Now, here's where this gets truly devastating, and this is the part that nobody in the car industry will ever show you. What if instead of spending $1,030 a month on a vehicle, you spent $400 on reliable used transportation and invested the $630 difference every single month? At an 8% average annual return over 30 years, that $630 monthly investment becomes approximately $945,000, nearly $1 million. From the gap between what you chose to spend on transportation and what you could have spent. Not from some sophisticated investment strategy, not from a side hustle or a business, just from choosing a different car. This is the real cost of your car that nobody calculates. Not what it costs you now, what it costs you in the future. Every dollar you spend on depreciating transportation is a dollar that doesn't compound. And over a lifetime of driving, those unchosen compound returns are worth far more than the car ever was. Let's talk about the psychology of why this happens, because understanding why people make this decision is just as important as understanding the math.
Cars are one of the most emotionally loaded purchases humans make. They're tied to identity, status, freedom, and self image in ways that almost nothing else is. When you drive something nice, you feel successful. When you drive something old or modest, there's a subtle social pressure that makes it feel like a statement about where you are in life. Car manufacturers understand this deeply. Every advertisement is designed to sell you a feeling, not a vehicle. The open road, the freedom, the admiration, none of that is in the car, but your brain genuinely believes it might be.
And then there's the monthly payment illusion. Our brains are not wired to think in total costs. We're wired to think in immediate affordability. Can I cover this payment this month? Yes. Then it's fine. The fact that you're committing to 72 months of payments, plus insurance, plus fuel, plus maintenance, doesn't register the way a lump sum would. If someone asked you to hand over $44,000 in cash for a car, your hesitation would be visceral and immediate. But $500 a month? That's just a line item. This is the same psychological trick that makes subscription services so effective. Small recurring costs feel manageable. Their cumulative weight is almost invisible until you're buried under it. So, what do you actually do with this information? The first thing is to calculate your real number. Sit down and add up every dollar your current vehicle costs you annually. Payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance, registration, everything. Then multiply it by the number of years you plan to keep driving. That's your lifetime transportation cost if nothing changes. Most people find this number somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000 over a lifetime of driving. The second thing is to understand the opportunity cost. Take whatever you're spending monthly and subtract what you'd spend on the most basic, reliable transportation that meets your actual needs. The difference is your monthly wealth building gap. Even a $300 monthly gap invested over 25 years is worth over $280,000 at 8% returns. That gap is a choice you're making every single month, whether you realize it or not.
The third thing is to separate the identity from the vehicle. This is the hardest one and the most important. Ask yourself honestly, does the car you drive reflect your values, or does it reflect what you think other people want to see? The person you're trying to impress with a new car either doesn't notice or doesn't care as much as you think. Meanwhile, the financial cost of that impression is compounding against you silently for decades. A 3 to 5-year-old reliable sedan, purchased outright or financed for the shortest term possible, will get you to the same places as a brand new luxury vehicle. The destinations are identical. The financial outcomes are not. Here's the thing about wealth that nobody who drives an expensive car on a modest income will tell you. The people who are quietly building serious money are almost never the ones with the most impressive vehicles. They're the ones who made a different calculation a long time ago. They decided that what their car said about them mattered less than what their bank account said about them. The real cost of your car isn't on the window sticker. It's in the compound interest you never earned. It's in the options you didn't have. It's in the years you worked longer than you needed to because transportation costs silently consumed the money that should have been building your freedom. Calculate the number, then decide if the car is still worth it.